Welcome everyone. And today we are going to talk about how AI is transforming our lives. And in today's session, we have Dr. Mariam Kiran with us. And we've already mentioned her profile, but I'd like to share with you कि डॉक्टर मरियम जो हैं वो कंप्यूटर रिसर्च साइंटिस्ट हैं एट लॉरेंस बर्कली नेशनल लेबोरेटरी बर्कली कैलिफोर्निया में रिसर्च लीड एंड प्रिंसिपल इन्वेस्टिगेटर हैं फॉर सेल्फ ड्राइविंग नेटवर्क्स एंड आई होप यू ऑल अंडरस्टैंड द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ सेल्फ ड्राइविंग नेटवर्क्स जो अभी एआई जिसमें सारी इनकॉर्पोरेट हुई और जो डॉक्टर मरियम हैं शी लीड्स द एआई फॉर नेटवर्किंग रिसर्च ग्रुप बिल्डिंग सॉल्यूशंस फॉर operational network and engineering. She received her PhD and MSc in computer science from the University of Sheffield in UK. And she has worked in academia before joining the current job. She was working at Sheffield, Leeds, Oxford, University College London. और मरियम की जो research है वो her research explores machine learning and decentralized optimization for wide area networks, wireless and cloud infrastructure. और भी बहुत लंबा प्रोफाइल है, but I won't go into that detail and I won't waste time in introducing her. You can all browse her. You can join her LinkedIn network as well. So with that, I would request Dr. Mariam to start her conversation. Dr. Mariam, what we'll be looking forward to know that how AI is transforming our lives, what sort of careers are in artificial intelligence. So what we've been trying at Atom Camp in Pakistan, trying to लोगों को बताने की इन्फॉर्म करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि how important things are happening in AI space. और AI space is not just for computer scientists. Yes, computer scientists are playing an important role. लेकिन बहुत सारे और प्रोफेशनल्स भी आ रहे हैं, they are switching careers and that was not possible a few years ago, लेकिन अभी ये possible है. तो उसी प्रोसेस में जो है वो हम try to organize these webinars. और इसके अलावा we have also launched an artificial intelligence boot camp जो 1 February को Atom Camp का start हो रहा है और उसमें भी हम open house भी कर रहे हैं. We are trying to educate people कि वो skills learn करें. And this is something that's going to gain a lot of traction in coming years. So it's good time for Pakistani youth to learn AI and ML. And उसके लिए कोई आपको, it's not like a semiconductor जो है वो कैरियर टाइप की इंडस्ट्री है जिसमें ज़रूर आपको को बहुत ज़्यादा हार्डवेयर रिसर्च और इस तरह की लेबोरेटरीज चाहिए होती हैं. So all you need to know that you should have a passion and you should be willing to switch your career and you all can learn artificial intelligence. So that's what we are doing at Atom Camp and we are really grateful to you for joining us. तो आपकी presentation होएगी, उसके बाद we'll have Q&A session. जी Dr. Mariam.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum everyone. So again, thank you Naveed for inviting me. I'm really excited. मैंने मतलब Atom Camp का online देखा था and I thought कि वो जो mission आप लोग कर रहे हैं, it's pretty novel or very relevant to आजकल के scenarios. So I prepared like 15 slides just to talk about like मेरा career कैसा गया है AI में or what do I see further AI research careers happening. So again, because I'm a research scientist, so all of my point of view is from a research scientist point of view. In my career, I've not seen many Pakistanis do PhDs and join the scientific field, which I think is something which we should work on. And I would encourage more and more Pakistani youth to actually join research careers. So I'm going to talk about more from that perspective. Let me see. Okay. So just to have a little bit of a background, Naveed mentioned I did my PhD in computer science from Sheffield. Uske baad, I did a few postdocs in Leeds and Sheffield, or I also did an academia position in Bradford. And then I think about 5-6 years ago, I applied for this job in Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and I kind of moved from UK to US. But the advantage is that over the time, I did a lot of projects within EU. So jab main UK mein thi, I was involved in a lot of projects jo cloud computing wahan pe develop ho rahi thi EU mein us waqt. So I got insights into how, for example, BT works, और ये बड़ी phone companies कैसे काम करती हैं. So I found out a lot of networking infrastructure challenges they had. और वही फिर I had that idea that I pitched here. Okay, this is what we could develop more, and that's how I ended up getting this job. So it's not like so I think my career kind of went like one step by step. So I learned, and then I used it in the next step, and I learned, and I used it in the next step. So it wasn't that it just happened just ekdam se. So why AI? So so AI is kind of like it's not something new. I think a lot of people actually know this. So it started in 1950. Alan Turing wrote this famous paper called Can Machines Think? जिसमें उसने actually Turing test propose किया था, where basically you're talking to a machine behind a wall, and you don't know whether you're talking to a human or a machine. And if you are successful, then basically you passed the Turing test, and AI has like become very smart. That test is still not, people can still not say that the Turing test has been succeeded by AI, because people can still detect if it's a machine behind the scenes. So this is still an open challenge, and a lot of the tech industry is actually going towards trying to solve or improve the Turing test. So have this at the back of your mind. Or you see a lot of new tech movies. I think there was this very famous movie called Ex Machina, where they actually showed this Turing test, ke ek robot banaya hai, and they bring this guy in to talk to the robot and to try to determine if it's passing the Turing test or not. So it's very nice to see these tech movies and get a lot of ideas from that. So that's what I do. I watch a lot of tech movies and get a lot of ideas from my research from movies, actually. So so just to go back into history as well, so 1950s this machine learning concept came in. 1980s was actually where deep learning concepts came in, neural networks and stuff. And over time, when I was in undergrad, I was told, okay, when you write your CV, put certain words in the CV, because they have these AI filters, which actually filter those CVs before they get to the actual people who are actually looking at the job candidates. So AI has been there since the 1980s. It's not something new, and HR was using it. Like in 2010s, there was this big movement of GPUs running machine learning. So hardware kind of does play a role in AI now, or a lot of research can be, you cannot succeed if you don't have access to certain hardware like GPU or HPC processing. But what has happened is that because research is now open so much, that a lot of these devices are now open to use. So you can create an account on Google, Amazon Cloud, and you can actually run your machine learning algorithms on that. Or they have these credits where you can actually get access to those for free as well. So aapko pay nahi karna padta hai. And mostly this has been led by commercial applications, jo hum logon ne dekha hai. So cat images being recognized, or speech recognition, and a few recent examples I've added in the end as well. So it's kind of like creeped its way into all of our working every day. Now we have like Nest, Siri trying to start our car. Agar aapko kahin jana hai. But there is a very big shift in how things move, because people are now ready to trust AI as well. I'm not gonna give all of my details to AI. Now people are like looking for the ease of life. So they have kind of started to trust AI quite a bit. So if any kind of AI career you are trying to make, you need to know certain machine learning libraries that exist. So scikit-learn is a Python library which has been there for a long time, and it's open source. It comes with very good examples. आप उसको download करके use कर सकते हैं. And a lot of this is done in Jupyter Notebooks. So Jupyter Notebooks is a very interesting concept. It was actually developed at Berkeley, and it's kind of like hosted on a cloud. So it's kind of like a Google page or a Word document hosted on a cloud where you put your code and then you can run it there and then. So you don't actually need to download any compilers or anything on your computer. So you basically have access to that particular cloud. space or a virtual machine, and you run your Jupyter notebook there. And Jupyter notebooks can have all kinds of Python code written in it, and it's been used for machine learning as well. It's very easy because you can put your data there as well in the cloud. So you don't actually have to download massive amounts of data. You put it in the cloud or Jupyter notebook वहीं पे है जहाँ पे आप उसको process कर रहे हैं. So some of the machine learning libraries which have come out over Caffe, TensorFlow, Theano, Torch, इसमें TensorFlow or Torch is what is the most famous being used now. So definitely have some experiments which you are involving TensorFlow and Torch. So for example, आप image recognition कर रहे हैं या speech recognition कर रहे हैं. Torch is being developed by Facebook, and it's a very active team. Well, every time they're coming out with a new version. TensorFlow is more of a Google-driven library, so they are developing more things from that. And they have capabilities where you can switch on and off to run on a GPU or versus just a normal computer as you are doing it. So they have a lot of examples. So you need to have like at least some experience of working with TensorFlow or Torch if you are going into this machine learning kind of a career. So you also have to understand why deep learning is different from the traditional AI techniques. So AI technique covers everything. It covers expert systems, it covers decision trees, random forest, even deep learning. So usually it started to train cats as an object identification. So it puts a box around the cat over here, or playing games. The AlphaGo game, I thought 2016, 2017, that really took everything by storm. Okay, it was the first time an AI machine actually beat a human at a game. So wo ek paper published हुआ था Nature journal में, which everybody should read if you want to see the impact AlphaGo brought into this field. So why deep learning solutions are better than other machine learning solutions is because deep learning actually does data-driven learning. So you don't have to put rules from the top, but you actually learn patterns from the data which is given to the AI system. So this is why you need massive amounts of data in a deep learning thing. So you need gigabytes and gigabytes because you need to train it over a large amount of data set. In other kind of machine learning techniques, you can actually use rule-based systems. So define a rule like if this, then do this, if certain probabilities are reached, you can do certain things. So that's why deep learning is kind of like a favorite among people because you can train the particular AI for the problem you are trying to solve as well. And every time you run it, based on the data, it's going to give you different results. So it's very important to understand the concepts of these different machine learning things which you are using. And then within AI, there are three different ways of doing it. So there is supervised learning when labeled data is available. So for example, you have a very large spreadsheet where you have column names available. And you also know, like in this particular experiment, this is one of my experiments where I was looking at network flows, which go from one point to the other. And I was doing a classification on what is a good flow versus a bad flow. So if there was packet loss happening in a flow, that was a bad flow, or packet duplication happening, that was a bad flow. So I collected so I actually tuned the experiment to know when a good flow was happening and when a bad flow was happening. So I had labeled data across each of those flows, and then just running simple classification, which is a principal component analysis over here. You can see that two groups are formed very nicely. You could see a normal flows falling at the bottom of the screen and bad flows falling at the top. And what happens is if I train an AI, okay, normal flow is tarah lagta hai or bad flow is tarah lagta hai. So next time when a flow happens, it can categorize that this flow is more towards the bottom of the graph. So it's going to be a normal flow versus a bad flow. And these kind of techniques, again, for network engineers, it's very important because you can put this AI and it will tell you that something's going wrong on the network before you actually have to go through all the scripts and stuff to see what is wrong. So basically saving time is one of the major things which I'm trying to do here for the network engineers. Then we have unsupervised learning where you don't have labeled data sets. So for example, if I don't know what a good flow versus bad flow is, I just have the random data sets. So in that particular case, what happens is you usually take all the flows and you're working with the domain scientists, jinko andaza hota hai ki, okay, this is normal and this is abnormal behavior. And you perform all kinds of clustering algorithms. There are many different clustering algorithms. This is again PCA being used here. And you will find that running certain clustering algorithms, you will find 2 or 3 different groups being formed in the data set. And with that, you can identify features in the data set. This is an abnormal flow versus a normal flow. So for example, in this particular case, we basically just grouped all the flows which were coming, and we did a series of rounds on how to make nice clusters. And then when we got this kind of a graph at the end, we looked from the network engineers looked at this and said that, oh, ye jo is taraf aa raha hai, this is all flows that happened during the COVID time. So that was like a completely different network behavior happening when COVID was happening, because people were working from home. They were working at different times of the day, which was not normal. So that kind of comes out in that kind of an unsupervised learning method. And there could be like cats and dogs is a very famous example of unsupervised learning, where you're giving a lot of images and you're trying to recognize if it's a cat or a dog. So usme bhi features identify karne if it's pointed ears, or if it's not, or if the nose is longer, then it's a dog. Otherwise, it's a cat. So this is another one which is very hot topic in AI right now in research. It's called reinforcement learning. And in this particular case, you have no data available here at all. Jo pichle do mein you had data available. So in this particular case, you are trying to put an AI agent in a simulated environment, and you make it play a game in the simulated environment. And then based on whatever action it is doing, it gets a reward. So via trial and error, and this takes ages to train. Reinforcement learning is, you need a lot of GPUs and stuff to train at the back end, otherwise it'll take a long time to train. It's also dependent on how fast your simulation environment is going. So that agent then learns in that environment how to behave. So we did an experiment, we put an agent in a smart battery, and the smart battery was trained कि जब temperature high हो जाए तो you open the windows, or जब temperature low हो जाए तो you turn on the heater. And we were able to train the AI agent and compare it to an industry smart battery solution. And our AI agent was performing better than the smart battery solution. And a reason for this was that because it was being trained in that particular building, it was able to adapt more to that building's characteristics rather than something which you are buying off the shelf from industries. So this is where you can really build bespoke solutions for where AI is actually doing this thing. Those smart cars, self-driving cars, are actually using reinforcement learning quite a lot. And one of the challenges unhone dekha hai is because they have to train their AI agent in a simulation, which they don't have very good simulations for a car driving on the road. So they do have like very good simulations, like there are very random situations, especially to drive karte hain. Something randomly happens, so you wouldn't have programmed in a simulation. And that's where the AI agent doesn't learn. And that's a drawback, that it doesn't know what to do in that kind of a situation. So there's a lot of work happening at Google, Waymo, etc., where they're trying to develop reinforcement learning for self-driving cars. So that's also another area to go into. So I added a slide on my own research in case people were interested in. So I do self-driving networks. So the way I do it is I look at all of these 3 techniques Joe I just described. So I have a network of routers at the bottom shown in green blocks. And then I collect a lot of network data from that. So you collect network flow data, you collect router data. You can also collect temperature and everything from an internet kind of a data set. And then you run supervised, unsupervised classification. So I can find anomalies. There is a sudden blip in the network that suddenly their traffic has gone up. Then how does the network react? I could do forecasting as well. that based on the traffic statistics of my first 2 days, what is the traffic statistics going to look like in the next 3 days? And I can make intelligent decisions based on the forecasting. So weather, for example, weather is forecasted using these kind of techniques. And all of that can be used to train an AI agent, which I can then train as a reinforcement learning agent, which can then send information back to the network to make changes. So one major problem I'm trying to solve is if you are sending data from point A to B, and the pathway from A to B is becoming very crowded, then how can we divert the flow to go the longer way, which is not traditional? So networks always use shortest possible route to send data from A to B. So based on classical algorithm theory, which is called the Dicastros algorithm. So I'm trying to see how we can not use a Dicastros algorithm, but use AI to actually tell it which kind of path to take. So it's an interesting thing because I need to interface the AI with the network controllers, with the router controller, so that I can actually automate the decisions which are going on to the network. And yeah, so this is the work which I've been working on. Yeah, happy to take any questions on this if people have. So coming back to open challenges in research and AI. So there are, I identified these 5 areas, which you really should be thinking about if you want to make an impact in the AI field. So data, definitely data is a big challenge. But data is not just about having the data in the proper format. There's also this concept called FAIR, where you are tagging the data with a lot of details like metadata. Okay, data kab generate hua tha, how do you know the data is reliable or not? So there is a lot of work happening on putting in FAIR principles on the data. There was this example of somebody talked about how Google's AI agent is using bad data to train what a gorilla looks like. So that was a very famous story which came out where it was giving the wrong kind of pictures when you were searching for a gorilla. So that was a very famous news story which people can Google and search. That was a result of like bad data training the AI. So that's a challenge which people are looking at. Training machine learning algorithms is another challenge which people are looking at. So I mentioned that some of the algorithms, because it's using massive amounts of data, they take a long time to run, which is why people need HPC facilities or high performance computing facilities or GPUs to actually run those and do hyperparameter tuning of those machine learning models. So there is a lot of work in research happening to make that quicker as well. So how can we parallelize these models over multiple machines? How can we make it more efficient, cost effective when you're training these models? Because there is another difference that the energy consumption of training machine learning models is actually adding more carbon to the earth as well. So there is another argument of that as well. So you want to make energy efficient training machine learning models as well. So there is an interest if people are interested in going into that direction as well. Inference and hardware, I'm going to talk about together because once you train a machine learning algorithm, you can deploy the AI into the field. And how you do it is you write it out on a Raspberry Pi, which is very simple. You basically put it in a Raspberry Pi. People should definitely have an experiment with Raspberry Pi where it's hosted there and the Raspberry Pi can collect sensory data and do actions based on the AI which is running on the Pi. So you could do these Pis connected to GPUs, or you can have FPGAs, which is another upcoming hardware which people are looking at as well. So these kind of hardwares are going to make a big impact in the AI field, especially when you're trying to deploy the AI in real world. So that's another experience which I would suggest that students should definitely have. And then there's also publishing. So this graph on the right actually shows you the amount of papers that have gone up over the years in machine learning conferences. So the main conferences are NIPS, ICML, ECML. If people are interested like in what are the new algorithms coming out, these conferences are where those algorithms are talked about. So for example, in my work, I follow like what is the new things coming out every conference, because I want to know what is the next big algorithm which is going to make an impact on my work. So that's another thing which you can do to follow like where new AI is going. So there are lots of opportunities for CS research or AI coming to academia, industry, government, and more. So the way you do it is you actually really have to understand the problem relevant to particular sectors. I work in network engineering, so I really have to understand what is the challenge engineers face every day, and how could that be changed into an AI solution. So rather than going in, Kim, I'm just going to do an AI, you need to have a problem which you're trying to solve. Students and researchers are not limited by compute resources anymore. Pehle ye hota tha ki you needed to have a very fast computer to actually do your experiments, so for example, if you're in game design, if you don't have a very fast GPU on your computer, you wouldn't even get started. Like, and because now you have facilities like cloud computing, and I hope Pakistani universities also have a lot of facilities on site, so you can actually use those facilities for your research. There's a lot of work in actually building the trust in AI as well, because a lot of people are using AI, but they also don't want to give their data to it. So that's another area of philosophical AI work if people wanted to do. There is more opportunities coming in. 5G, 6G is really going to take the world by storm in the next few years. A lot of the places 3G, jaise hum log pehle use karte the, that's not even being used anymore. Aur ab zyadatar jo phones hain, they're going to transition into 5G. Now, the difference between 5G is it brings more data at very fast speeds. Now, in order to make any sense of that data coming in that speed, you need an AI system to actually read that in. So there is going to be a lot of use of AI coming in just because the network speeds are going to go up as well. And then there is a lot of new business models coming in as well. Metaverse and the gig economy have like kind of really been pushing new kinds of business models and new theories. The best example I see is Uber, or how they kind of changed the taxi industry completely. Now, even companies like Uber use a lot of AI because they have to calculate the best path to get to the customer, or how can a driver pick multiple people up on the same way. So that also uses AI in the background. So there are a lot of business models which kind of depend on AI in that sense as well. So the more interesting thing, Naveed told me to add something on ChatGPT and what is the current thing. So it was interesting because I was doing some experiments yesterday with this. So ChatGPT is actually started in November 2022. And in the news, it said that company valuation went from 0 to $1 billion within a week. QK, it really took by storm what was happening. So it uses supervised and reinforcement learning to learn language models. And it uses zero-shot learning basically to do chatbots. So these are like machine learning algorithms which it uses. And it's designed to do chatbots and for industries like customer service. Now, this is not a very new concept. If you do AI theory, you remember that there was this experiment called ELIZA, which was developed in the 1960s or 70s, where they wanted to train a computer to act like a psychologist. So you could talk to ELIZA, and ELIZA was a bot which was telling you how you are feeling and trying to reduce the suicide rates in I think it was in America at that time. So that was a very famous early chatbot example. So this is what ChatGPT is kind of like as well. You put in a question. So I was putting in a question, can you give me a paragraph on how ChatGPT will improve the industry? And this was kind of like the paragraph it came out with, that this is what ChatGPT is, this is what it uses, and these are the industries which I'm kind of targeting. So it's actually a very nice AI model, which is trained over massive amounts of data, which is actually spitting this out. Another experiment I ran was that I actually said to it, can you write me a play where a fox jumps over a lazy dog? And this is the kind of, it actually wrote me a 2-scene play. Title, characters, scene 1. The stage is set in a forest clearing. Fox is seen wandering around and the lazy dog is seen lying down, sleeping. And then the fox talks to him and the dog talks to him. It's a very, it was actually a very surprisingly very good play. So again, there is some concepts that writers and scene play writers are thinking that AI will replace their work. So that is another threat we see that AI is bringing. But another recent story on the news right now is that Google has great dominance over the search engine right now, that anything you search, Google you go to Google to do any searches. They're saying that maybe ChatGPT might replace Google's search engine because you can ask ChatGPT the question and it'll give out an answer. So you don't actually have to do searches on Google anymore. So there is more which is going to come on in the next few months where we see how ChatGPT is going to affect our work. But it's definitely going to change a lot of traditional business models which have been out there. And yeah, probably the students over here have more ideas on how it's going to change more things. So we can open the floor and have a discussion on that. I also added a slide on DALL-E. So DALL-E is another tool by the same company, OpenAI, which is actually based here in the Bay Area. So over in DALL-E, what you do is that you basically put a script. So I put cat sitting on a rocket flying to the moon, and it gives out images to you. So, and on the right, I put animation of cats of the world, and this is the image it gave out to me. So again, so this is now threatening the artist industry because now they think, or the graphic designing industry, because if you can generate images with just text, then it's actually a problem for them. But as you can see, the animation of cats of the world is not actually very accurate because it's still like blobs of different weird cat bodies. So there is still room for this AI to improve, and maybe it will. So this is another threat which is coming as a result of AI. So afterward is that there is immense opportunity for CS. Right now, AI is gonna really take in, it's been there for a few years, and for the next 50 years, you can imagine that it's gonna really take in a lot of domains. Best tools to learn is Coursera has a lot of AI tools where you can do an AI course. There is one very famous one from Stanford, which is like the de facto course, which everybody starts to do. YouTube and blogs actually have a lot of information on running AI examples. So you should definitely start with those as well. But also think about merging more technologies. So think about how data from sensors is linked into an AI, how you're running machine learning models on the cloud, how you're bringing it to robotics or gaming. So because AI is now so saturated that you need to stand out from the crowd. And the way to stand out is you're doing something different, which like merging different technologies together. And a way which we kind of, when I have to hire people, this is what I look at, is you really need to build your profile. You should have a Git project profile where you host your projects, where you can send it to the prospective people who want to hire you. Okay, this is what my code looks like. Have a CV with kind of documents this. You also have to read current news and developments. So just know where the new technology is going forward. And also, lastly, think about solving a problem rather than just going in head first that I want to do AI. What are you using AI for? That's where the impact comes of your work. And that's how you become valuable. So I think that's all I had, Naveed. So
thank you, Dr. Mariam. I think it's an excellent summary of what's happening in the world and where we should head to in terms of learning and impact. So with that, I think we'll open the floor for questions. So I'll appreciate if you want to ask questions, then you can raise your hand. I'll allow you. आप या तो हैंड रेज कर दें या आप चैट में भी लिख सकते हैं क्वेश्चंस. तो मैं वहाँ चैट से भी ले लूँगा। तो अगर आपके कोई भी क्वेश्चन हो तो आप लोग हैंड रेज करें या चैट में लिख दें, तो मैं वहाँ से आपको जो है मरियम, मीनवाइल जितनी देर में हम बाकी लोग क्वेश्चन के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, so how often it is happening these days about switching careers and people coming from different backgrounds, learning from, you know, these Stanford courses themselves and doing other stuff, like microbiologists, you know, learning AI and applying AI in their experiments, chemists, you know, working towards, you know, they've been doing these experiments, but this large data sets available, AI models, pharmaceutical industry, and obviously that needs interdisciplinary sort of teams to work on these areas. So if you can just share your thoughts on people switching careers into AI, so that will be helpful.
Yes, sure. So I actually see this in scientists as well. I work with physicists quite a lot, जिन्होंने पूरी जिंदगी theory, physics की theory पढ़ी है. Now they are trying to learn AI as well, because they need to analyze the data sets which they are experimenting with. So they are kind of switching careers, like learning about AI. But a lot of times what is happening is because they don't want to spend the time on switching careers, they will hire someone who does AI, who doesn't know anything about physics, but they basically tell them कि ये problem है, ये data मैं तुम्हें दूंगा, you need to give me some AI model which can recognize this pattern. So there are a lot of jobs opening up because of this, because people don't want to spend the time to learn new careers. But there are people who are changing careers as well. So to learn, to learn how AI works, you are definitely valuable. I would say that if you have AI skills, you are valuable.
So a question आया हुआ है. Let me just, it's nice presentation. Could you assist more? Your bootcamp videos will be in English. हाँ, वो bootcamp questions भी आप post कर सकते हैं. So हमारे bootcamp जो हैं उसकी lecture जो हैं वो उर्दू में होते हैं और उर्दू में हम ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा prefer करते हैं ताकि लोग understand कर सकें. अच्छा, सैयद असद आप question करें, फिर मैं chat पे बाकी questions लूँगा. सैयद असद, आप म्यूट हैं.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
वालेकुम सलाम.
सर मैम ने कहा कि वॉर का या ऐसा मतलब बैटल का जिक्र किया, तो ये हेल्पफुल है या ये नुकसानदेह है?
तो ये जो है ना, दुनिया की हर चीज फायदेमंद भी हो सकती है, नुकसानदेह भी हो सकती है. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन यू. सो आई ऑलवेज टेल पीपल के वो उसको कहते हैं फादर ऑफ एवियोनिक्स जो है, जिसको व्हाट्स हिज नेम, आई एम फॉरगेटिंग हिज नेम, इन 17th century द गाय हु इन्वेंटेड एवियोनिक्स जो है ना, तो उसने कहा कि इट इज पॉसिबल के ह्यूमंस विल बी एबल टू मेक फ्लाइंग शिप्स, बट गॉड विल नेवर लेट इट हैपन. क्योंकि अगर if it will happen, then those ships will come, flying ships, and they'll destroy our ships on the sea. They'll destroy our, तो God let it happen actually. और वो ships भी जो है वो destroy हुए, but उन plane से उस avionics के नतीजे में now we are also traveling around the world. So I think that's the way where ethics come in. That's way where social scientist roles comes in. कि एआई को यूज कैसे करें, एआई के ऊपर फिर एथिकल जो लोग काम करते हैं, दे आल्सो सेट कंडीशंस. लेकिन मरियम ज्यादा जानती होंगी उसको, लेकिन आई ऑलवेज टेल पीपल के 1988 में प्रोबेबली डार्पा ऑर्गेनाइज्ड ड्राइवरलेस व्हीकल्स फॉर डिफेंस पर्पसेस कॉम्पिटिशंस. So defense has always been ahead of any other sector in terms of technology research, in terms of technology usage. So they do use जो technology है उसकी जो wrong side है, that's always there. So it depends on us how we use it. Many benefits. AI is already producing many benefits like any other technology. ये भी technology है, उसी internet से सारा कुछ हो रहा है. We are also talking to each other. उसी टेक्नोलॉजी की मदद से we can get Mariam with us और we could clearly hear us, so that Zoom के ऊपर बैठ के लोग और भी प्लान बनाते होंगे और हम बैठ के यही सीख रहे हैं. So that depends how you use Zoom actually. हमजा खान, आपका क्वेश्चन.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. Thank you for the seminar. Ma'am, two questions are दोनों related है एक दूसरे से. So I read an article written by some researchers at MIT. They performed an experiment where they posted some legal judgments on Wikipedia, and they didn't posted their rebuttal articles on the Wikipedia, and it showed that there was a 20% increase in lower courts judgment that contained those articles. Citations increase हो गई judgments की. This happened because lower courts में judges and clerks have a lot of workload on them, and Wikipedia is quite an attractive way to get things done. And now AI is going to get introduced in the legal field, so citations easy हो जाएगी. And now we know that this is going to cause a lot of biases, right? क्योंकि कुछ चीजों की citation ज़्यादा होगी, कुछ की कम होगी, and that's a really dangerous thing to happen. Human eye जो filter करती है social changes को, वो AI नहीं कर सकते. So how can we battle this? And the second question is related to this. Academic research में हो गया क्या है, qualitative research जा रही है नीचे हो रही, quantitative ज्यादा हो रही है, और वो भी AI की वजह से हो रही है. AI की वजह से, algorithms की वजह से हो रही है, क्योंकि डेटा को ज्यादा जल्दी से एनालाइज किया जा सकता है, और कलेक्शन ऑफ डेटा जो ह्यूमंस के साथ कॉन्टेक्ट से की जाती है वो इतनी अट्रैक्टिव चीज है नहीं. ये कॉलोनियल लेगेसी की वजह से भी हुई है, लेकिन तो ये क्वालिटेटिव और क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च में जो बैटल जा रही है, इसको if you can speak on that.
Sure.
So any perspective? Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, very good question. ये examples definitely हो रहा है कि they are using AI in legal terms a lot, and there is this problem कि they see that क्योंकि एक demographic traditionally criminals में आती है तो उनको unfair judgment मिलेगा. So one way of some research which is happening is कि आप again going back to the data which you are using to train the AI, तो उसमें से bias कैसे हटा सकते हैं. So I mentioned FAIR principles. So FAIR actually stands for Federated Identity, Accessible Identity. I don't remember right now, like if you do a Google search. So it's basically how can you bring in FAIR principles into the data to make it more fair, also for the AI which you are training, ताकि किसी को unfair judgment ना मिले. And that also kind of like solves the quantitative versus qualitative research. You are right, AI is very based on quantitative, लेकिन फिर how do you add quality to it? So this is again, because it's not always black and white, there's also gray areas, and those are open research areas जो अभी लोग काम कर रहे हैं इस पे. So definitely if you started working in this direction, you will get a lot of, you will stand out from the crowd as well, because इसमें ज़्यादा अभी तक काम हुआ नहीं है. जहाँ तक मैंने पढ़ा है, कि मेरी वो फील्ड नहीं है, लेकिन इसमें ज़्यादा अभी काम मैंने नहीं देखा है. तो अगर कोई solve कर सकता है, it's going to be a big change.
Hamza, you are ahead of time. You should focus on that problem जो है ना, जो मरियम कह रही है, किसी ने नहीं solve. There is an opportunity for you. So Ruth has an interesting question. How can we use AI to understand new concepts which people don't understand yet, like in astronomy? If we can't solve a problem, can AI do it for us? Solve problems like what created the universe? What is inside a black hole? So Mariam, ये मुश्किल सवाल है, आप बताएं.
Yeah, so for example, मैं quantum research भी करती हूँ, so I definitely was trying ChatGPT से कि explain to me what quantum computing is. So it did come out with an answer. लेकिन the thing is, you have to remember कि AI is actually trained on the data which was given to it. अगर आपकी research अभी तक वहाँ पे जो existing research जो internet पे है, वही उस level तक नहीं पहुँची है जो आपको बताए कि black hole में क्या होता है. So AI will never be able to give you that result, right? So always think AI is still dumb, right? जब तक I'm not giving it the right data which I'm needing it to get trained with. So don't get discouraged. AI is going to be like, but you're still a master to the AI is what I'm trying to say. So don't, so unless research gets there, AI is not going to know more than us. So I think it's a big claim, but I'm making that claim.
So ये jobs के बारे में अक्सर I'll share my perspective, क्योंकि आजकल बहुत discussion होती है, will AI replace? Yes, AI will replace some of the jobs, but not every job. So जो replace करेगी वो more mundane, routine, repetitive tasks, जैसे अगर मशीन में इंडस्ट्री के अंदर कोई एक पर्सन था, उसने उठा के एक जगह से दूसरी जगह चीजें ले जा रहा था, तो बाद में कन्वेयर बेल्ट्स आ गई, असेंबली लाइन आ गई, तो वो उठाने की बजाय वो खाना स्टार्ट हो गया। एंड सिमिलरली जो है वो ऑटोमेटेड मशीन्स आ गई, तो वो चीजें स्टार्ट हो गई। तो दैट सम ऑटोमेशन विल हैपन, some not everything, but you know, you should be ready and you should look out ke what's going to happen, and you should prepare yourself for that reason.
Right. So,
For which age group you'll recommend, from O level, A level, or graduate students, or even an experienced jobber which cannot stand more in market coming days? So I think that we've been talking. Anything, Mariam, on that?
Yeah. So all age groups, in my opinion. I don't think you're restricted by age anymore. As long as आप मतलब कोई काम कर रहे हैं which is solving a challenge, age is not a issue.
What sort of background knowledge is required for learning switching to AI? Yes, you know that for switching to AI, all you need, like the boot camp जो हम conduct करते हैं, हम उसमें सबसे पहले जो different background से लोग आते हैं, उनकी Python और mathematical foundation build करते हैं, और उसके बाद उनकी machine learning की foundation करते हैं, और उसके बाद they can go on to NLP, computer vision. और ये दिस इज जस्ट द बिगिनिंग। लाइक एक तो अक्सर पाकिस्तान में व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड, जैसे अभी मरियम कह रही थी कि शी स्ट्रगल्स के क्या न्यू एल्गोरिथम्स आ रहे हैं, कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में जाएं। तो अगर मरियम ने पीएचडी कर ली हुई है, प्रोफेसर्स रही हैं, साइंटिस्ट हैं, तो इट डजंट मीन उन्हें सारा कुछ आ गया है। सो ये जो इस किस्म के बूट कैंप्स होते हैं, कोर्सेज होते हैं, दे जस्ट बिल्ड योर फाउंडेशन एंड दे पुट यू ऑन द ट्रैक। लेकिन उसके बाद कंटिन्यूअस लर्निंग इज द की। सो यू हैव टू लर्न अलॉट, यू हैव टू लर्न कंटिन्यूसली। तो आप उसको लर्न करते जाएं, एक फाउंडेशन बिल्ड कर लें एंड देन बिल्ड ऑन दैट। फिर जैसे मरियम कह रही हैं, आप किसी फील्ड में, कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं, जैसे मैं ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट लेता हूं और काम करता हूं ये एआई इन सिटी मैनेजमेंट में। सो एआई इन सिटी मैनेजमेंट जो है, जो लोग हैं, दे आर कंटिन्यूसली वर्किंग इन दैट स्पेस कि हम सिटीज में सेंसर्स लगाएं, हम एयर क्वालिटी डेटा लें, हम गाड़ियों को जो है वो रेगुलेट कैसे करें, हम टॉल कैसे इकट्ठा करें, हम एमिशंस कैसे कंट्रोल करें। सो यू नो दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग। सो इट डिपेंड्स वेयर यू वांट टू। सम पीपल वर्क ऑन मेडिकल इमेजिंग and then they go that deep in medical imaging that they are solving problems in the world. So that really depends that you starts with some basics and then you build the foundation on that. If you could talk about cloud computing power a little bit more, because my understanding was that I would need a heavy duty computer for training big data sets. So is pe agar Mariam, if you want to add.
Yeah, sure. So I can take an example of say Google Cloud, right? So either so you can be working with Amazon Cloud or Google Cloud. Those may in Google Cloud, in every cloud you get services available. If you go and search for the services, इसमें काफी examples आपको मिल जाएंगे. So for example, I want to create a database with different speeds. So 5 different kinds of databases will come up. One based on SQL, another based on another technology. And you can choose like which service you want, which database you want, and you put it in your box. And then you build pipelines on top of it in the cloud itself. Again, those are services available in the cloud. So you can build a complete backend in the cloud. आपको अपने computer पे कुछ नहीं करना है. The most famous example is Netflix. Netflix doesn't own infrastructure. Everything is built on Amazon. So they basically built all the infrastructure on Amazon. They have this database of movies located on certain servers in the cloud. Then they have a pipeline which connects to their user interfaces, which has security things and stuff. So, and they built it on Amazon, and they're still using Amazon for their infrastructure. Our company started from basically 40 people to so many now. That was the first example of really using cloud to the maximum. So definitely look at how you can build a data pipeline or a data infrastructure on a cloud. And you'll find examples jahan pe you can start from sensor data coming in. It goes into like 2 or 3 different branches, and then it branches out into going to a database, or you do some other machine learning analysis on it. And then in the end, you can connect it to a GUI, which is also in the cloud, and it spits out all the results. So there are examples, I hope I answered the question, but there are examples in which you can build complete infrastructures within the cloud. And all you need is a username and password to do it.
So Hassan, I think you must be satisfied कि अगर and Netflix चल सकता है तो आपके data sets भी चल सकेंगे. So the next question is super interesting to hear about your experience of switching away from academia to industry. I just had small question. I want to go into academia, mostly into research for intervention design. So ऐसा कुछ clear नहीं है, कह रहे हैं intervention design जाना चाह रहे हैं research में. So I don't know what does it mean. Anything, Mariam, if you want to add?
Intervention design or?
Yeah. Mostly in research for intervention design. ऐसा ना बता सकते हो, what do you mean? चलें नेक्स्ट में देखता हूँ. Where should I start to learn and begin my journey? कहते हैं क्लास 8 में है. देखिए मरियम आपकी कितनी इंटरेक्शन हुई है आपकी टॉक की. You have a participant who is in grade 8. So where should you start? So grade 8 से I usually ask them to start learning coding. Scratch से start करें. Grade 8 वालों को तो मैं Python कहता हूँ. Grade 8 से नीचे मरियम, if you have other advice, let me know. So I usually advise कि अगर आप grade 8 onward जो है Python सिर्फ सीखना start करें. और अगर grade 8 से नीचे हैं 3rd 4th grade से onward Scratch पे आप start कर दें बच्चे जो है, तो that at least start learning coding. So any other advice, Mariam?
Yeah, Scratch is a very good example जिससे बच्चों को programming आ सकती है. मतलब मैं अपना example दे सकती हूँ. I started, so obviously मैं 2000s में मैंने किया था अपनी CS की degree, which is like 10 years ago now. So I started with basic, जो अब exist भी नहीं करती है वो language school में. So I did my O levels, A levels. I didn't even have computer science in my A levels. मैंने biology, physics, maths, and chemistry. मैं A levels किया था, and then I ended up going to a computer science university, जहाँ पे computer science undergraduate, postgrad मैंने computer science में की थी. So it's like I had some knowledge using basic, and computer science में ये होता है, you have to be remember that आपकी programming languages change होती रहती हैं, right? मैंने university में मैंने Java पढ़ी थी. I didn't even know Python क्या थी. अब क्योंकि मैं machine learning कर रही हूँ, that's all in Python, so I learned a lot of Python now. आपकी basics strong होनी चाहिए, जो scratch और basic वगैरह जो है वो आपकी algorithms बहुत strong कर देती हैं, and then you can switch programming languages as you grow in your field कि अब हमें क्या चाहिए. क्योंकि now, for example, Go is a new programming language which is coming in the next few years, which is also going to be much more faster than Python. So people keep learning new programming languages. So I would suggest for this particular candidate कि आप अपने O levels, A levels अच्छे करें in science fields, and then go into a computer science university. And on the side also do small projects in computer science. So अपनी जो Git profile जो मैं बोल रही थी ना, वो build करनी शुरू करें. So you'll have a lot of projects to showcase. I have a lot of experience in different languages.
So we have a very philosophical question, Mariam. So you are a PhD, so hope you can answer it. Isn't AI like our subconscious mind, active even when we are asleep?
Yeah, so you could say that. So subconscious mind is, so if you go into the theory of subconscious mind is a lot of other things, right? Because subconscious mind is also made up of our memories, जो हमें अब याद भी नहीं है. क्या हुआ था बचपन में, and it kind of experience वो influence करता है हमारा आजकल का behavior quite a lot. So that's a lot of subconscious mind. If you are readers of young philosophy, AI is not. I would still not say AI is kind of a subconscious mind, because again, it's a very it's a thing, right? I can give it certain things and I can understand how it's behaving in a certain way. Subconscious mind has a lot of things which are still unknown. So obviously you cannot compare Alamia's creations, right? So there is I don't know whether I'm doing a very good philosophical justification, but I'm a very religious person as well. So kind of like, so जब मुझे ideas नहीं आ रहे होते हैं, I go to God and I ask for help. So it's kind of like, so that's why I'm saying that AI is not what creations are, kind of. So.
Yeah. So there is a question, Mariam, how can we use AI to determine best placement in flying ad hoc networks to maximize network coverage, interference, avoidance, and optimal energy usage?
Yes, good question. So this is coming up in 5G quite a lot, because drones are now becoming very common now, that your drones are going to be connected with 5G networks and more. Now, उसमें ज़्यादातर challenges ये होते हैं कि you lose a connection if a car goes by, or if certain things happen, temperature, weather changes, then you lose a connection. So usme, how we're using AI is how you can automatically divert traffic if you know that a connection at this particular hub is going to drop. So you can predict certain patterns ki yahan pe train aati hai every time at this particular day. So you're going to divert the traffic to go to another hub or another antenna. So that's how in those kind of networks, it's a different routing challenge where AI is trying to predict weather patterns as well to make intelligent network decisions. But then also you can do area coverage as well, that I've covered this area, what other area do I need? So there is new research in swarm optimization, you're trying to identify, like, if the whole area is covered by you just collecting this amount of small here and small data here, and then somehow you're relaying it to a global container, jisme sara data save ho raha hai. So there is a lot of algorithms being developed in that area as well.
Yeah. So agriculture पे किसी का question था, तो I'll tell you पाकिस्तान में जो थोड़ा बहुत agriculture में काम हो रहा है, and Mariam can tell if there are global things happening in AI space. जो पाकिस्तान में अभी बहुत छोटे लेवल पे सेंसर्स लोगों ने काफी सारे यूज कर रहे हैं मॉइस्चर्स की टेस्टिंग के लिए, और उसके लिए सिग्नलिंग जनरेट करना फॉर फार्मर्स के क्या सिचुएशन है, वेदर की फोरकास्ट और रिपोर्टिंग के ऊपर भी कर रहे हैं, और उसमें कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं फार्मर्स को। प्लस जो है वो पेस्टिसाइड्स के हवाले से, यूजेज के हवाले से, पेस्ट्स की आइडेंटिफिकेशन पे ड्रोन जो है वो लोग भी कुछ यूज कर रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में। But Mariam, anything happening globally in agriculture that's interesting with AI use?
Yes, so there is, so I think if people are interested in the agriculture, they should follow the story which happened in India. Jiske wajah se the riots happened last year in India. And the whole thing was based on agriculture, because what they were trying to sell the data from all the farms to these cloud computing platforms such as Microsoft at that time. And the idea was that Microsoft sare crops ka data rakhega, it's going to run AI on it, and it's going to come out with pesticides and everything. And then the farmers will have to buy the pesticides again from these American industries. So that is one of the things where AI is going to be used to seed data, collect ho raha hai puri duniya ka. And they have these massive databases jo sara kuch information rakhenge. So it's scary because log healthy rather than healthy, they're going to go towards artificially generated seeds. So this is the drawback, but there is good things like the Raspberry Pis, which I mentioned, usme sensors laga ke people are actually deploying it in their fields, and then they can hook it up into a cloud computing platform. And they can monitor moisture levels or anything else which they can turn on automatically the water, or they can turn it off. The water conservation mein kafi use ho raha hai, AI. Temperature control mein. So again, these are small experiments jo hum log apne backyard mein kar sakte hain. Take a Raspberry Pi aur usme aap very simple sensors laga dein, and you can build this as a very fun project and just monitor at the back end. So you can see that going to big scale as well. You can have drones roaming around in the field. So वही जो आपने पाकिस्तान में mention किया है, बाहर भी यही हो रहा है, but it's like they're doing it at a larger scale. I think the other thing is that they're also making these tractors which are controlled by AI. So that recently came out now at the CES meeting जो यहाँ पे हुई थी, Texas में या कहीं पे, sorry, Las Vegas में. So they are going towards the self-driving tractors. So I don't know how far that's going to go, but that's another thing which is happening in agriculture.
Yeah, so it's good for Pakistan at least, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में सारे ट्रैक्टर ड्राइवर जो है लाइसेंस नहीं लेते ड्राइविंग का, तो at least it will be well trained driving auto vehicle जो है ना. So Mariam, ये last एक question लेते हैं. I think we've already taken a lot of your time. So last question is about you. Can you highlight, उसमें he's wanted to know more about your work that you are doing and research the kind of work you are doing, and also interested in knowing probably how do you recruit RAs and PhD students in specific fields of ML, DL, or maybe at your laboratory. So maybe you can share the hiring process, or how frequently you do it and the kind of work that you are doing.
Sure. So I'll start with my work. So QK, I am an AI person in network engineering. So I can analyze all kinds of data sets. So either network logs, जो ये लोग collect करते हैं कि traffic statistics, what is happening. I also do security analysis. So the security team collects their data, and then I can run AI on that. So what I do is I actually talk to the engineers a lot, kya masla chal raha hai, and then try to develop small projects around how AI can help solve those challenges. And that has led to a lot of open source tools coming out, because I can then write out the code and make it into an open source tool and give it to the community. So I can turn it into libraries, Python libraries to people use karte hain, ya kuch. So I've done network forecasting tools where people can then just connect their data sets, and it'll forecast the next 7 days on their network. So I have a research group which is focused on AI for networks. So I have multiple postdocs and engineers, jinko main ye small projects assign karti rehti hu, and then they keep developing new algorithms to help solve those challenges. The way I recruit is whenever I have a new project, and because it's a government funded thing, so again, it depends on funding coming from the government. I advertise the jobs, what are the requirements? They can be different levels. If I'm hiring a postdoc, they're looking at, so you should have a PhD. And then we look at their Git profile and their CV, and we see if they have the skills which we are looking for. So do they have any experience in TensorFlow or PyTorch? Do they have any experience of running codes on parallel computing, for example? So that's something we also look at. Then we do an interview process. Jisme hum log initially hum log interview mein just to get to know ke how is this person. We have that initial interview. Then there is a second interview where we give them a small programming exercise, and then they solve it in front of us. So then we can see how their programming skills are. So that's how we do postdoc and engineer requirements as well. Engineer, agar aap hire karte hain, so you can only have, so you can have like an undergrad or a postgraduate degree, or lekin aap postdoc agar hire karte hain, so you need to have a PhD. And then, yeah, I think that's mostly, and then you in the research field, it's like you work as a team. So aisa nahi hai ki you assign, like how it happens in industry. You give them something and then they go and do it. So you really need, so I have to check, is this person going to work well in the team? Because obviously computer science, when we have a lot of issues when we're working with people we don't like, right? So I think developing team skills, having experience in teams before, aapke references, hum log definitely check karte hain. Again, so one thing which people don't know, academia field itni small hai कि if somebody is hiring someone, they call me up कि आपने इसके साथ काम किया है, what is your experience? And this is not known to the candidates, but just because that person had me on their thing, they know that I know. So so I've had that experience. If I'm hiring someone, I call the person up as well. So having very good references as well is important. And yeah, working with more build networks. So LinkedIn is a very good way in building networks. So I'm trying to build a network with Naveed here. So the more and more people you know, you can find good references, and then you can find opportunities as well. Another thing, just last thing I want to say is internships. Look for internships. every company has internships every summer. Google has, even the labs do, research labs. So apply for internships, which are like 3 months, where you get paid to go there and do work. And it comes on your CV, and it's like a very good thing. People look at this, that how many internships you've done to actually get to this position. So do internships. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mariam. I think it's a wonderful advice and very useful for everyone, the way you've explained, building profile, references, and then having a good CV, and then skill set. So I think we've taken a lot of your time. We learned a lot. I personally learned a lot from your presentation, from your answers, and I hope it was very helpful for our participants. So even in future, we'll continue to seek your time. And जो हमारे boot camp में जरा participants थोड़े से advanced stage पे चले जाते हैं, then we'll have more technical session with you. And बाकी अगर आप लोगों के कोई questions हों तो you can drop me at team@atomcamp.com, or you visit atomcamp.com, or you can let us know if you have any other questions. You can reach out to us on all of our social media channels, and looking forward to more engagement with all of you. Thank you, Mariam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for the students as well. They were so good with so many questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.